If we want to break this primordial vicious circle, we have to be ready to face this small, round and cozy narrative head on. Motherhood, as vague and ancient as God itself, we are constantly being guilt-tripped by the sanctity of motherhood, some vague angelic holiness of the maternal love. Just get rid of that false guilt and face her as she is, a grown-up woman who has, at least partially, decided that she would be better/happier person if she brought herself a little toy in this world. That's the naked reality of the matter in hand.
Antinatalism. What is it? I asked my brother. What's antinatalism?
Not wanting natives on your land.
No.
Yeah.
Guess again.
Not nating.
He didn't know. But I know. Antinatalism is the ethical view that procreating or having kids is wrong. The reasoning for this has to do with something called the asymmetry of life. What's the asymmetry of life? The asymmetry of life is pretty much the idea that you will experience more suffering in your life than pleasure. By having kids, you're dooming your offspring to a life of suffering and are responsible for any pain your children experience. Oh, also by suffering, I mean any sort of like negative emotion from torture to mild discomfort. Basically, the idea is that existence itself is bad, so you shouldn't impose it on anyone else. Peter Wessel Zapp, born 1899, was a Norwegian metaphysician, and he's kind of credited as being one of the first antinatalists. He thought that human beings were a biological paradox, that our consciousness were over-evolved, that we understood too much about the nature of life and the inevitability of death and suffering, which kind of makes sense. Peter Wessel Zapp? I'm not pronouncing that right. Peter Wessel Zapf. Peter Wessel Zapf. There's also the religious argument that by procreating, you are superseding God's role as the creator. Now, that argument really would only work for people who are religious. Well, okay, so according to, the Christian religion, God makes the soul, you have a child, the child's in you, he puts the soul in the child, and then you eject it from your womb, right? God's creation right there. You didn't do that. Well, you did, but he helped, right? So you're not the full creator. He's good chunk of it, good like 50%, I'd say. God did,
Thanks, God.
It's all good. The clip I showed at the beginning of this video is not representative of antinatalism as a whole. Antinatalism is an actual serious philosophical position with a whole host of arguments ranging from environmental concern to, the idea that you can't give birth to a consenting person, so you shouldn't, which is that's hilarious, honestly. I feel like there's a lot of problems with antinatalism, which, obviously, but first off, I take issue with the asymmetry of life thing, because I disagree that we suffer more in our lives than we experience pleasure. I don't agree with that, and I'm not too sure what metric they're using to measure that. That seems like a very subjective thing to me, Also, Peter Wessel Zapp's position that human beings are a biological paradox, that's really interesting, and, fun to think about, but really, I only think about death maybe like 5% of the time that I'm alive, possibly even less. It rarely comes up in my thinking from a day-to-day basis. There's a ton more arguments and nuance to antinatalism, but most of it is philosophical jargon that I don't understand, really. This is by no means a comprehensive essay on antinatalism. I don't actually know anything. I just thought it was interesting. I guess the purpose of this video is to just highlight that this viewpoint or philosophy exists. It makes sense that it would exist, but it's still pretty insane. Maybe insane's not the right word, but I initially started this video thinking that I'd go on this antinatalism subreddit and just look at all the crazy posts and replies that are on there. But honestly, a lot of them were kind of sad. A lot of them were teenagers and young people who really weren't happy with their position in life and ultimately wish they hadn't been born, which is, not something I want to highlight in a comedy video. I'm trying to be, I guess, not a bummer. You guys hear about that new Delta strain of COVID that came out of India? How it's able to infect those who've been vaccinated? That's cool. Yo, it's your boy Ryan coming at you with a brand new rap, straight off the top of my head, freestyle baby, here we go. Yo, my name is Ryan, you won't catch me crying, cause I'm a cool guy who doesn't like to cry. That's it, that's all I got.